The morning breeze gently swept across Bandungan. The air still held a cool scent from the previous night, when the thin mist crept over the slopes of Mount Ungaran. But this morning was different. As the sun began to peek shyly from behind the thin clouds, Bandungan's main street was bustling with activity. Colorful banners hung above the road, while street vendors slowly set up their carts along the sidewalk. Today, Bandungan was once again alive with the Flower Carnival, an annual event eagerly anticipated by locals and tourists alike. Among the rows of carts and stalls stood a simple stall, conspicuous by the small chalkboard beside it. Fresh ice. Tea 5,000 rupiah. The cart belonged to a middle-aged man named Pak Saraman, or more familiarly known to locals as Mente. He was known not for selling extraordinary drinks, but for his devotion to selling sweet iced tea at every event, from village celebrations to night markets to flower festivals. And today, he was back, occupying his favorite spot in the northern corner of Bandungan Square, right at the corner where the carnival procession often paused to change formation. 1. Morning preparations. It was still 6:30 when Mr. Saraman arrived with his beloved pushcart. The cart was old, its paint starting to fade, but still sturdy and clean. On top of it were neatly arranged large ice thermoses, stacks of plastic cups, and gallon jugs of sweet tea made by his wife. "Well, I hope it's busy today," he muttered, as he checked that the thermos lids were securely fastened. He had prepared 2 small benches for shoppers to sit on to rest. Some plastic flowers were placed on his cart, just to match the festival theme. Meanwhile, the fragrant scent of flowers from the carnival participants began to waft slowly, adding to the lively atmosphere. 2. The crowd begins around 8 o'clock. The sound of a marching band could be heard in the distance. The cheers of children and teenagers welcoming the procession grew louder. Carnival participants wore colorful floral costumes, some resembling red roses, purple orchids, and even corpse flowers worn by the ever-eccentric local vocational school students. Mr. Saraman was starting to be inundated with customers, mothers dropping off their children at the carnival, fathers waiting for their turn to perform, and even a few domestic tourists from Semarang and Yogyakarta stopped by to buy iced tea. "Is the iced tea sweet, sir?" asked a young girl wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a camera slung around her neck. "It's sweet, but not the sweetness of first love, miss. It's the sweetness of real sugar tea," Mr. Saraman replied, making the girl laugh. For Mr. Saraman, every customer has a unique story. There's a young couple who buys 2 iced teas and sits on a small bench watching a traditional dance. There's a grandparent who buys a glass and enjoys it together, taking turns drinking like a love story from the past. There's also a small child, fussing because of the heat, who smiles as soon as his tiny lips touch the cool iced tea. "Sir, who made this tea?" asks a young boy innocently. "My mother made it," Mr. Saraman replies with a smile, even though the tea is actually made by his wife. For Saraman, his cart isn't just a place to sell. It's like a small stage where he can see life through the faces of his customers. As he pours tea into a glass, Mr. Saraman's memories often drift back to his youth. Before selling iced tea, he was a bus conductor on the Ambarawa-Bandungan route. But after a minor accident left him with a slight limp, he changed careers. At first, he was embarrassed, but the support of his wife, Mrs. Tardy, kept him motivated. The iced tea was his wife's idea, and since then, he has become Mante, a nickname he is now proud of. I only sell iced tea, but I see people's smiles every day, he once told a local journalist who interviewed him. As the afternoon approached, the crowds peaked. The procession slowed as participants from surrounding villages took turns performing traditional dances and music. The temperature rose, making Pak Saraman's iced tea a lifesaver for many. Queues were inevitable. Young people, photographers, and even carnival organizers took turns buying. But no one complained because Pak Saraman served with a patient smile and a friendly greeting. The organizers also need something fresh, sir. This iced tea brings blessings, he said, handing a glass to a young man wearing a committee uniform. Pak Saraman didn't have time to sit. For 4 full hours, he stood, pouring tea, adding ice, feeding straws, and accepting money. But the fatigue was palpable. The carnival made him happy. He wasn't just selling. He was witnessing culture, joy, and a zest for life. He watched children dancing, mothers dressing up, and fathers joking around. Sir, can I have another iced tea? Asked a regular customer. Yes, as long as you don't add to my debt, replied Mr. Saraman, greeted by laughter from the bystanders. Around 3 in the afternoon, the tea cart began to empty. The gallon of tea was a quarter full. The ice cubes were melting. He sat on his small stool, wiping his sweat with a small towel. A small child who had been fussy earlier came back, holding his mother's hand. Sir, please have another one. The one earlier was delicious, said the innocent child. Mr. Saraman chuckled. This is the last one. You're the one closing my shop today. The child smiled broadly, a smile that made Mr. Saraman forget his fatigue.